to Talking with Tom and Jim. Tom Goldrup, Jim Goldrup. They love introducing themselves to each other. They are Tom and Jim Goldrup, and we are talking with them here on Talking with Tom and Jim. They are experts in the golden age of Hollywood. They have written 4 books on the subject and have known so many performers from that era and have so many amazing stories, and it's so great to talk with them and get all the juice and the details of all these unknown stories that would have been lost forever if we didn't drag them out. Well, you dragged them out first, and now we're dragging them out a second time.
One of the actors told us after we interviewed him, he said, well, come back again. I could think of more lies to tell you.
Don't you do that. I'm your host, Jeff Greenwald. Next to me is our other host next to me here, Matthew Rose. Thank you, Matthew, for being here. As always, it's such a pleasure when you're here. And we're here to talk about Jason and the Argonauts, the 1963 film. And this came up a couple months ago. We had a show with a completely different topic, and we were talking about the actor John Crawford. And you can see it on camera, live. You mentioned that he was in Jason. It's like you were just uttering things he'd done, and you mentioned Jason the Argonauts, and Matthew turned into a 12-year-old boy on camera and just poof was. I was like, wait, Jason the Argonauts? And then he had all these questions, and I was like, no, wait, that's not what we're talking about. And so Tom promised that we, if we didn't talk about it then, that we could all come back and talk about it now. So here we are, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, we watched it today. There was one little scene in there. The Jason and the lady, I forget her character's name. They're on the boat, and the boat's rocking a little bit, and there's stars in the sky back there. And as the boat went down, some of the stars came down and superimposed across a hill or a mountain from an island over there instead of staying in the sky where they should have been. But Ray Harryhausen, he was great. He did this one and the Gold Sinbad the Sailor or whatever. And I like those characters, the things that he makes up.
And the music was by Bernard Herrmann, who's done a lot of Alfred Hitchcock films.
Alfred Hitchcock, yeah.
A lot of those.
The music is really beautiful, I think. It's really adventurous and fun. Now, there was a whole series of those. Like there was 7 Voyages of Sinbad, and there were several others that Ray Harryhausen, animated. Were they all by the same team of people, the same directors, and the same, or was it a trend, a Hollywood trend at the time, and anybody who could put out sort of a mythic adventure with superimposed animation on it, put one out?
Jason, or John Crawford, he was an American actor, but he had the freedom of going to England and working in England for about 5 years, doing theater and TV and movies. And that's while he was there that he did this one. So I don't know, and most of the actors in here were English, and so that may have been more of an English producer. I don't know for sure, but John told us that they filmed it down by this town in Italy on the coast, and he was concerned that this production would come in there and really take advantage of the Italians. He said the opposite happened. He said he got there early. He said having lived in Europe for a few years at that time, he knew if you get someplace early, you get a room, you can get one with the best view and all that stuff. And he said when he got there, they were shipping in beds and box springs and all this into this hotel, and they were carving the hotel up into littler rooms to fit everybody in. He said the laundry room got turned into a double room and with no windows. He said, and it ended up being just the opposite. The Italians were taking advantage of the film crew coming in. And while they were filming it, he said the producer, Charles Schneer or whatever his name is, he said he would come down to the set, and by 11 o'clock in the morning, nothing's in the can. He was going crazy because they would do little things. He said it was a comedy of errors, that at one time, like after lunch, the Italians would throw their scraps in the sea. They would have to take time to get all the stuff out of the sea that they threw in before they could start filming. It takes more time. There was a scene when the rocks were all falling down from the mountain and was splashing around, and they had to do a shot of John Crawford in the boat, and they did shots of other people too, and have the water splashing, but no water was splashing. And so John Crawford mentioned, he said, maybe somebody ought to go get a bucket, and throw some water up. And no buckets. So John Crawford said, well, maybe if two guys can get into this water and get the shields and flash water up there. All of a sudden, 6 buckets arrived. He said by then 40 minutes had gone by, just sitting there doing nothing. But then the head grip said, I have a family in Rome, and if I don't have something to do with this, no, they're going to say I'm not doing anything. They're going to not hire me anymore. So he built a platform out there where he can get on the platform where he can throw water in. And the carpenter came by and said, that's crap. He said, I have to do something. I got to fix it. An hour went by. Finally, they have the water thrown in to get a couple of scenes. The boat had no rear motor or whatever to back up. He said, every time the cameraman said, we got to do this scene one more time, it takes forever to get the boat back into space. He said the time just went by. And he said a lot of times by 11 o'clock, like I said, 11 o'clock in the morning, there was nothing in the can. The producer went crazy. He said the Italians did it to them. He said it wasn't those people taking advantage of the Italians. The Italians took advantage of them.
Oh, the longer we have to work and stretch this out, the more we get paid.
Yeah. And the more money comes into the hotels and the restaurants and everything. I mean, it's really benefiting the little village or the town, whatever it was. Yeah.
Wow. Oh man. So I will say, like, I have my little notes here. So the son of the king. So in the beginning of the movie, there's the king that is like the bad guy that Jason, sworn Jason's gonna, dethroning, down the road. And he has a son named. This is also going to be the episode where we get every name wrong. I mean, I even have it written down. Acastus, or whatever the son's name is, right?
Aristo?
And, what?
Is it Aristo? I thought it was
No, I wrote it down. Acastus. I don't know.
Maybe
but there's a completely different character who's friends with Hercules named Hylas, or that I'm going to butcher it. Let's just concede that I'm going to butcher every single name.
Helios?
Hylas. But I confused them. So the whole time that Hercules is hanging out with his buddy, I'm like, that guy's going to betray him. What's that guy going to do? And I'm wrong because I'm an idiot. Because, he's not the same guy.
Not?
The whole movie, I'm really concentrating on something that's never going to happen.
Same guy. Even when the betrayal happened, I'm like, see, I was right. So I even had the cognitive, what is that when you confirmation bias? I mean, it was him. He did betray him. I was like, no, it was a different.
Yeah.
And it was a group of actors. I mean, Andrew Falls, who, besides being an actor, he was a member of the Parliament there in England. Andrew Falls, Lawrence Naismith, Jack Gwilym was the bad king.
Andrew Falls is the second guy who gets killed by the skeletons.
By the skeletons, yeah. The guy with the beard, the one with the beard.
So,
and the guy who did all the... Go ahead, Matthew, sorry.
Right, Jeff. Who was the second guy to be killed by the skeletons? What was the name?
The actor's name is Andrew Falls, Faulds.
Andrew Falls. And now, did you get a chance to talk with any of them, or have they ever had like an interview where they talked about what it was like to fight up against a fake skeleton where there's nothing there? Or was there another actor there being the skeleton and they had to take him out? How'd that work?
I don't. We never met Andrew Falls, so we never talked. The only actor in here we talked to was John Crawford, and he didn't fight any of those things.
He didn't fight a Ray Harryhausen creature in any way.
He didn't actually fight none of the Ray Harryhausen creatures.